Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Starlene Breiter. I am a vibrational astrologer and I'm also an intuitive tarot reader. I welcome you to my video. This video is my weekly video about the upcoming astrology for the week ahead, starting with Monday, October 28th and going to Sunday, October 3rd, 2019. So just to give you a little summary of the video before I get started, I will be talking about the vibrational astrology, of course, and in particular, I'm looking at the midpoints. In vibrational astrology, we look at astrology a lot different than most modern astrologers or even classical astrologers. We don't necessarily take what is just passed down from history and say, okay, this works and this is how it works and this is what it is. We actually critically look at astrology and we say, does it really work? We use statistical analysis to figure things out, and we have a research group, one that I'm part of, that we look at astrology in a critical view and we try to figure out if this stuff really works or not. So this is a different kind of forecast than what you might be used to. It is a forecast for the collective. It's not just for one particular sign. In fact, in vibrational astrology, we put very little weight on the signs, which is interesting, but it's definitely a different way of looking at astrology, and it's one that I feel and vibrational astrologers feel that it's very poignant, it's very important. So aside from the vibrational astrology, which, by the way, this beginning of the week is very transformational. Not only did we have the new moon in Scorpio that happened on Sunday, the Sunday before this video comes out, opposite of Uranus, we are moving into a lot of Pluto energy in the beginning part of the week. I will get to that when I talk about the midpoints, but Pluto is very prominent, so we'll be digging deep. We'll be really putting our energy towards something that's important to us, and that is something, something that can be intense and can be transformational. So just know that this is the beginning part of the week, and then as the week progresses and Mercury and Venus do make their conjunction, they also make a lot of connections with other planets in the midpoints, which I'll get to, but that gives us a desire to communicate this introspection to other people, and it's one that comes from the heart. Mercury does go, of course, retrograde this week as well, so there's a lot of turning things inward as opposed to outward, which is not a bad thing. And the other things I will talk about are the gemstone suggestions that I have for the week as well. So to give a couple announcements, you can find me online if you haven't already. My website is rockstarastrologer.com. You can also, that's my consultation website, and you can also find my online business card where I have my other website links and social media links at starlenebreiter.com. These links are in the description box, so you can just click on them, search the description, and click on them as well. I also wanted to tell you guys about the Vibrational Astrology Conference that's coming up in March of 2020. It is March 27th through 29th. This is a really awesome conference. Now, the first one happened in April, this past April. I did do 2 lectures at that conference, which one was on the midpoints in relocation astrology, which kind of really got me into the midpoints to begin with. I really started studying them and practicing and working with them with my clients, and I said, I want to start doing a vibrational astrology midpoint forecasting thing. So it's kind of, I know it's not relocation astrology we're talking about, that's very personal, but it is definitely an energy that I think that is helpful to other people. So feel free to give me your feedback about this. But if you'd like to check out the conference, I will be doing not lectures this coming up 2020, but I will be doing live mini readings. So you can check out the conference. You can also get a live mini reading from me. The conference is awesome. We have a lot of fun together. We talk about the new discoveries in vibrational astrology, and we share them with other people. We love to help to get this cutting edge part of astrology to go further. We're always, as vibrational astrologers, trying to figure out, does it work? How does it work? If it doesn't work, what does work? And that's, the core understanding of vibrational astrology. It's an evidence-based approach to it. So it's really taking astrology to another level. And this conference is the cutting edge of that. So you can look for the link to the Vibrational Astrology Conference in the description box below too. With that said, I I invite you guys to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. Click on that notification bell so that you will get a notification when I upload a video, which I do upload these videos once a week. And then you can also like my video and give me a comment. Let me know what you think. If you like the video, if it's interesting to you, if there's something else you would like me to talk about, feel free to share your comments. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. So with all of that said, I'm going to jump right into the midpoints. We do have a few midpoints that were going on from last week. The first one I'm going to talk about is Pluto conjunct Mercury Neptune. This started on the 22nd and it lasts to the 29th. It peaked on the 25th, so it already peaked when this video comes out. But it does, I'm mentioning it now because because Mercury goes retrograde and it picks back up on the 1st, November 1st to the 6th, and the second peak date is the 5th. And it, like I said, it comes back up because Mercury goes retrograde and these planets make this midpoint again. So this is really us digging deep into our subconscious and our idealistic mind. So Mercury is our mind. It's what we think about. It's our ideas. It's our thoughts. You know, Neptune is our ideals. So we have our ideas and our ideals connected. And Pluto is going, hey, how deep do you want to go? You know, there's an energy here that's like can be very intense, especially intense here. If your mind is not focused on what you truly want to make happen in your life, then maybe this is the time for you to start doing that. Do some deep introspective thinking about what would my beautiful life look like? You know, what would that look like? Because sometimes we don't know, we're just going through the motions and, you know, day-to-day stuff, you know, that sort of thing. But get an idea in your mind what your beautiful life would look like and then create it, because this is giving you an opportunity to see that. So I like this energy, even though it can be pretty intense. If you're not in the headspace of, you know, feeling like, if you feel like you're running the rabbit or the gerbil wheel, whatever you want to call it, you know, you're running that race and you're not getting anywhere, then it's time to step back and say, okay, how can I get to where I need to go? You have to have that picture in your mind before you can actually create it. So it's a good time to do that. We also have Pluto conjunct the Venus Neptune midpoint, and it happens from the 27th to the 30th, and it peaks on the 29th. So it peaks on Tuesday. This peaks, and it has us compulsively seeking out some idealistic beauty around us. And it can be very sweet. It can be very like persuasive. It can be very loving, you know, like Pluto definitely gives us that intensity here, and Venus Neptune is sweet and loving, you know, so there's an intensity towards the sweet and loving things or way that we are, you know. So if you want to think about this in a way that it may fit into your life, if you're in a relationship, this might be a great time to have some, you know, deep connection with your other half, or you may find that someone else comes into the picture, someone, you know, new comes into the picture if you're single, and it's someone that you feel very deep connection and a meaningful connection to. So that may be how it plays out depending on, you know, what's going on in your own personal life. The next thing is Jupiter making a conjunction to the Venus-Pluto midpoint, and that started on the 26th and lasts till the 30th. The peak is the 28th, and this is an abundance of creative power. So right now, during this time, we have a creative energy with us. We want to reach beyond what is our norm, what is our usual, what is our common stuff, because Jupiter has us wanting to make things big, wanting us to stretch ourselves, you know, and it's connecting with Venus, which is our love, and Pluto again with that intensity. So we could have a lot of success in things, especially stuff to do with our artistic endeavors or activities. So, you know, if you're an artistic type or something like that, you may find yourself immersed into something, some new project that you have discovered that you like, you know, that may be a way how this plays out. You know, but this is definitely a powerful energy, and it has a good vibe to it for us to reach beyond what we normally do on a regular everyday basis, and to say, okay, this is something that I really appreciate and like creatively, and this is where I want to kind of put my attention, because you can get immersed with this energy. Pluto does kind of have us immersing ourselves in some way or another. So the next midpoint, this one has been going on for a while and it will last a little bit longer. It is the Sun conjunct Venus Mars midpoint. It's going on like for a few weeks. Actually, it's been over a month, I think, after it's all said and done. And the reason is because Sun, Venus, and Mars are moving almost to the same speed with each other. So it's slowly moving out of orb. Actually hasn't even peaked. It doesn't peak till the 4th. It did start October 16th and it goes all the way to November 21st. So it's over a month. It peaks on the 4th. And then this is an energy that's very visceral, very, a desire to create something. This is also an artistic energy. Venus and Mars have us wanting to do something with our hands, wanting to do something that is like around the home, that's nurturing, that's loving, but also powerful. The Sun is the essence of us. So this is a time that we may want to create something beautiful within our lives, create a beautiful life for ourselves. So although this is like a month-long aspect, this is like a time that you may notice with all these reforming aspects with Pluto, not this particular, midpoint, but with all these Pluto energies coming on, we may notice that we want to actually put this into play. We want to create this beautiful life for ourselves. And that's what the Sun conjunct Venus Mars is all about. So those are the midpoints that started last week and winded up going through this week as well. The next group of midpoints I'm going to talk about are the new ones. The first one is the Sun conjunct Mercury Mars. This happens from the 29th of October to November 1st. The peak is on the 31st on Halloween. So this is having us like communicate, and we want to communicate quickly. And the thing about it is if you don't think about what you say before you say it, because it seems like this kind of energy can be like, I'm not really thinking about, there's no filter between my mind and my mouth, so if you're in that space of letting that happen, sometimes that's a good thing. Like when you're talking to someone, that can flow, but if you're feeling aggressive or frustrated, or you're not channeling it properly, it can feel aggressive. The words that you say can feel aggressive or difficult or challenging. So try to have that filter before you actually communicate things during this time. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a bad thing, but if you're feeling frustrated or something like that, you may notice it, especially because, this is right on the day that Mercury does go retrograde on the 31st. So that's the peak of it. So if you're feeling a little frustrated or annoyed or something like that, just try not to let it translate into your communication with other people. So the last midpoints of the week, they will start this week, and then they will finish up next week. And there's 4 of them, and they all peak on the 3rd. So they're peaking this week, but they're going to wind up a little bit next week too. So I'll go through them and tell you what they're all about. And the reason that they are, there's so many of them and they're peaking during that time is because of, the Venus energy during this time. There's a lot of Venus energy going on. The first one is Jupiter conjunct Mercury Pluto. This starts on the 31st, October 31st, goes to the 5th of November, and the peak is on the 3rd. So this is like us going beyond the limitations of our mind. There's a great success in communication here. You have power behind your words. You want to think outside of the box with your words, because Jupiter makes things bigger, of course, and we want to kind of get our mind in a space where we are expressing something that's meaningful, that's something that is deep, something that is not just shallow or something that is, just frivolous. So there is a desire to like really communicate things and have good success with it. This is what this energy is all about. The next one is Jupiter conjunct Venus Mars midpoint, and this starts on the 1st and ends on the 5th. The peak is the 3rd, and this is, in a big way, we kind of want to find something that's lasting and real. Venus and Saturn, I've talked about this before, and I'll keep talking about it, but Venus and Saturn is like wanting real love, wanting something real, meaningful, something that lasts past death, something that is is important and not frivolous or not superficial. And Jupiter is like, hey, we want to make this real love really big. So, you know, there's a time during this time that we feel like we want something meaningful in our lives, but we also want something that is bigger than what we have even maybe imagined already. So don't think small, think big this week. This is an important thing for us to do. The next particular midpoint I want to talk about is Venus conjunct the Sun Jupiter midpoint. So you see a pattern here. We have Jupiter's, we have Venus, we have Jupiter, Venus, and Jupiter, Venus are all like these in these last midpoints that I'm talking about. So it's like big love, you know, that's the energy between Jupiter and Venus. Bringing in the other planet in the midpoint, because the midpoint needs 3 planets, it gives it a different tone, right? So the Venus conjunct Sun Jupiter, this starts on the 2nd, ends on the 4th, the peak is on the 3rd, and this is like big happy love. This is the desire for beauty and art in our world and the things that we feel positive about. We will feel positive about love. We'll be happy, joyful, fun. We want to do something that is exciting. So like go and have some fun during this time. It's not a time to just, you know, sit around the house and do nothing. It's a time to go out and explore and do something that's fun with yourself, because I think that there's a great energy for us to explore the world during this time, and it's a fun energy. It's a loving, fun energy. The last one is Venus conjuncting the Mars-Saturn midpoint, and this is the 3rd and the 4th, and the peak of it is on the 3rd. And this is kind of a detachment. This can be a detachment. I should say it can play out in the way of detachment from things that are not you know, super important to us. So if you notice that you're like, okay, so here's all this love from all this Venus-Jupiter energy during this time, and on the 3rd in particular, because all these aspects I'm talking about, these last aspects are Venus-Jupiter, and they're on the 3rd is their peak time. You know, there's all this like, you know, loving, big loving energy, but there's also a you know, Saturn coming along saying, hey, okay, we want it to be real though. We don't want it to be fake. We don't want it to be frivolous. We want it to be authentic. We want it to last past death. We want it to be something meaningful. And I'm not just saying this is love as in romantic love, although it can be. It can also be love as in love that you have for yourself, love that you have for other people. It can be art and beauty. It's whatever we're attracted to that makes us feel loving. So that's the energy of this Venus conjunct Mars Saturn. So think about the things that, you know, you are putting your attention to and you are, you know, quote unquote loving during this time, and make sure it's something that's meaningful and that makes sense to you, that makes, you know, your heart sing and you feel like it's not just something superficial. So that winds up our midpoints for the week. Now I'm going to talk about the 2 planet patterns and the ingresses. This is the general astrology for the week. On Monday the 28th, we have Saturn making a sextile to Neptune. So this actually doesn't peak until next week, but it does start, the energy starts on Monday. So it starts on the 28th and it goes to the 19th of November. The peak is on November 8th. And this Saturn sextile Neptune is like, we want to have a spiritual connection with other people, with other things. It's a time when we feel like there is something that we want to bring that's tangible to our, you know, our dreams, our desires, our hearts, our soul. You know, Neptune is the function of Neptune is our ideals, you know, our highest ideals. But that can be played out in many different symptoms. You know, that can be played out in thinking about like being a little lofty. It can also be somewhat like being a little idealistic, or being even kind of like spaced out a little bit. But Saturn comes along and says, nope, we're going to make this real. We're going to make this meaningful. We're going to make this work for us. So that's the Saturn next sextile Neptune. It's the desire to say, hey, okay, this is the meaningful spirituality, the meaningful connection I have to spirit, soul, God, Buddha, whoever you want to call it. This is what it looks like. So this is a time for us to kind of think about what are we doing with ourselves as far as our idealistic connection to source is. You know, source energy is what I mean by that. You know, what does that look like? Is it something that's meaningful? Is it something that makes sense to us? Is it something that we're just being airy-fairy about? Because Saturn's not airy-fairy. Saturn is definitely saying, I want something real. I want something meaningful and lasting. So, you know, that will be a theme that starts off this week and peaks next week and then wanes down after the next couple weeks. So the one-day aspect that does happen on Monday is on Monday is the Sun opposite Uranus. Okay, so Sun opposite Uranus, it does exact at 4:14 a.m. and this is excitement. This is fun. You may notice that you didn't get much sleep Sunday night or Monday morning during this time because you may have some, you know, jolt of kind of energy going on. This is excitement. It's kind of fun, and what I would tell you is to try to be present, even if you know, I know it's 4:14 a.m. Eastern time, so if it's, you know, and even earlier if you're on the west coast of the United States, you know, so it may not be like the ideal time to have this energy, but here we are with this energy, and it's like you're wanting to be up, be lively, even be joyful or connecting with other people. So think about that and make sure you're present. It's important always with Uranus to be present, to pay attention to what's going on, not to be too far in your head somewhere in the past or in the future. So try to be present with this one. And this will, of course, last most of Monday as well. So the next aspect that we have to talk about, first off, Tuesday the 29th, there's no exact aspects to talk about. Wednesday the 30th, we have Mercury conjuncting Venus. I had mentioned that earlier. This does happen at 6:04 p.m. and this lasts on the 30th and the 31st. So it's felt, you know, both of those days. This is a desire to communicate art, beauty, the things that we love. So we'll have a desire to communicate these things during this time. And this is pretty intense because Mercury is stationed, just about stationed on Wednesday. It goes station retrograde on Thursday. So this is an intense one. We're gonna really, really feel this Mercury conjunct Venus because Mercury is very still in the sky during this time. So moving on to Thursday the 31st, that's when we have Mercury station retrograde. That happens at 11:42 a.m. and it is retrograde until November 20th. So from the 31st of October to the 20th of November, these 3 weeks, we're going to have Mercury retrograde. We've been in the shadow period for a few weeks now, and the shadow period on the end side of Mercury retrograde is until December 7th. So Mercury goes through, goes up to the 27th degree of Scorpio, and then it moves backwards to about 11 degrees of Scorpio, and then it will again, in the retrograde phase, it will move backwards to 11 degrees Scorpio, and then again, it will move forward through all those degrees. So if you have planets that are between 27 or 11 and 27 degrees of Scorpio, this Mercury retrograde will be affecting you even more powerfully. So it's good to look up your own chart. If you don't know your own chart, I did do a video about looking up your own chart online for free. You can just check out that video and you can figure out if you have planets there. If you have planets there, then understand the energy of that planet and how Mercury is relating to it, because it'll be like a do-over. You may be feeling like, you know, say you have Venus at, you know, 15 degrees of Scorpio. So Mercury goes over your Venus and then back again. You may find that old loves come back into play. You know, that may be something really real for you. That's definitely a Mercury retrograde thing anyway, but it may be even more intense for you because you have Venus in that degree or something like that. So it's good to know your own chart as well. But definitely, you know, Mercury retrograde things, when things get a little wonky, like our communication, our emails get missed, our phone calls get a little, you know, haywire or something like that, don't get frustrated with it. My best advice to you with Mercury retrograde is to just laugh it off and not be like, you know, too frustrated, because I can tell you a million Mercury retrograde stories that have happened where it's just like a series of like silly little things that happen that could amount to like real frustration. But, you know, I've learned that like when it happens, I'm just like, okay, so we're doing this now. You know, you just kind of have to have that attitude and move forward through it anyway. Because if you go through a period of time like that and things get a little wonky for you, it's okay. It's okay. It's kind of funny. It kind of brings into the awareness that you need to put your attention on something. Like, for instance, sometimes our car is a way of us you know, traveling back and forth, and that can be very Mercury energy, like making short trips. So maybe we need to, sometimes our car can break down or give us some trouble during Mercury retrograde. So maybe we need to pay attention to that before Mercury goes retrograde. Make sure that everything is tuned up and the car is running well. That may prevent something bigger in the future, because what I think Mercury does is brings into our awareness something that needs to be attended to anyway. So when you're having struggles or frustrations, or maybe you're forgetting your keys or losing your keys or locking your keys in the door, maybe that's a reminder to be more present in the moment, because in our mind, because we're too far in our mind somewhere else as opposed to being present. So it's, you know, whatever's going on with you during the Mercury retrograde, it's something for you to look at inside of yourself. It's an internal kind of energy for you to look at. So the next thing to talk about is Friday the 1st, November 1st. I can't believe it's already going to be November. We have the Venus making its ingress into the sign of Sagittarius. This happens at 4:25 p.m. and it lasts until November 25th. Okay, this is a lighter energy for Venus than when Venus was traveling through Scorpio. Scorpio can be intense. It can be, you know, have us intense and feeling intense about our relations with other people, our love, our art, our desire for art. It can have us having that intense feeling. But during the Venus traveling through Venus traveling through Sagittarius, we may have a desire to be free and have more of an appreciation for different kinds of art, different kinds of beauty, things that are not necessarily the norm of us. So try to have a lighthearted soul during this time, and try to say to yourself, you know, is this a time that I can look around and like look at what is around me, and maybe incorporate things that I don't necessarily do to be loving to myself or to other people during this time. So this is a nice energy for Venus. It's more lighthearted, and it's more carefree. So you may be feeling a little bit more like you're getting into the spirit of the holidays as well. So it's a nice energy for us. So on Saturday the 2nd and Sunday the 3rd, there are no exact aspects to talk about. So I'm going to go ahead and skip down to the gemstone of the week. The gemstone I am suggesting for this week is black Tibetan quartz. Here is a piece of black and white Tibetan quartz. So here, obviously, this is the black part, and this is the clear. So Tibetan quartz is great. What it does is it clears and expands the aura. It's wonderful for stimulating clairaudient energies. So if you are a clairaudient person, which means clear hearing, so you can hear spirit, this would be a great stone to work with. Okay, this would be wonderful, and I'm thinking it would be great for this week because of all the Mercury energy that's going on, because the fact that Mercury is retrograde. I think that this would be a wonderful stone to work with. You can also put it on your third eye chakra, like lay down and do a meditation with it. This will help to open up that clairaudient ability for you. It's a great stone also to help you be grounded and to help you be centered. It also helps to clear and close any holes that you have in your aura. So if you feel like you're needing to kind of cleanse your aura, and you're needing to kind of seal any holes or tears that might be in it, this is a wonderful stone to work with. I would tell you to meditate with it. Hold it in your hand when you meditate. Maybe even keep it in your pocket during the day, because it will help, and it will help keep you grounded and also kind of keep you balanced with your auric field. So this is a wonderful stone to work with for this week. So I want to thank you guys for watching my video, and I want to invite you to come back next week when I talk about the Mars square Pluto energy and the Saturn sextile Neptune that's coming up. I talked about it a little bit this week, but of course it exacts next week, so it'll be more intense. And I also will have other things to talk about. I thank you so much again for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. And of course, check me out online on my social media. I love to connect with you guys, and I love to hear your comments. Have a great week, you guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.